What if you were a scientist at Regimental facility working under the Vector Industries, fighting against Dmitry Yuriev's save rates up in the sky, hoping to pull through? Because if you lose the Conduit now, it will be the end of it, you see. Klaus's dream, his relentless desire for betterment. A meta-universe manifold it may be, the Conduit is a gateway that will take us to a new world. Trinity Processor sync rate is 96%, it's perfectly safe. We're about to bear witness to the birth of a universe, as once only a god could perform such a miracle. But today, mankind moves one step closer to the divine. Think about it. A world where no one needs to fight. We humans are fools, ravage the planet, on the verge of burning even the skies above, slowly. Killing ourselves without realizing, but the Conduit could transform us into something so much more. A world where there is no selfishness or greed. Out with the old, and in once more with the new.
It has the nuance of the one at the beginning. In this world, only I and Alpha can claim that honor.
Is this how badly you wish to erase us, my god?
Don't you wish for salvation? Oh, you poor thing. Nobody needs this time-worn refuse. How will you respond? I cannot comprehend you.
When you look at these people, what do you see? As I see people struggling to stay alive, same as everyone else on Aionios or Alrest. They're just fighting to live, fighting over limited resources. That is, I think, understandable, but sometimes these people are just fighting because they can. The strong wanting dominion over the weak. Why does anyone kill others? They're in your way, or you can't bear the sight of them. You kill because you're weak. I suppose that makes Moebius weak. The Olden mortals.
What's so great about this world? Really? All the thieving for one's own gain, the greed. Life has less value in this world than a piece of dirt. This is your world of peace.
As the Agnian soldier said, Seaguy only had 2 months to live until his homecoming. The freedom from the samsaric cycle of suffering in Aionios. Departing from this world after 10 years of service, fighting to live, for many cut short by the fraction of a second. As the bullet pierces through their skull. All of their dreams and ambitions, their future, crumble to nothing. In the blink of an eye. And for what? Only to be reintroduced back into the cycle. It is through consumption of life that this world persists. Denying it is self-delusion. The only outcome, self-destruction. After all, it is an unequivocal fact of this world, the imperative that is intrinsic to all living things. While all of this is happening, the Moebius are just sipping their fine wine, playing a game of chess, enjoying the moving pixels on the screen safely, tucked away in Origin's warm embrace. How can you understand it if you haven't experienced it? You can't comprehend it, Matthew.
It's you there's no place for, Alpha. 'Cause Klaus, he entrusted the future to us. So he could atone for his past. He followed his conscience.
And he failed to realize that his conscience led him astray. An atavistic delusion. It is common among the old. Wholly unnecessary for all subsequent life.
I knew it. Of course that would be your vision of the world. As long as there's people like you, nothing's ever going to change. Casting off the old world and its people and just walking away.
You could not comprehend it, Matthew.
See, it is the same as it ever was. The Olden mortals, as Alpha put it, haven't learned a thing. Zanza longed for friendship, dismissed the free wills of Bionis and Mechanis alike, feared losing his divinity in people's hearts as civilization advanced. Science, technology, evolution, as Richard Dawkins' book suggests, leads to the selfish gene. You allow life to grow on Bionis only to extinguish that life force by turning High-Entia into Telethia, machines of self-destruction for the reincarnation of this world. Restarting it all, rewinding the clock back to the start, as Anne likes to say. In order to escape from total annihilation, Zanza wished for a world in perpetual cycle of destruction and recreation. Not unlike Moebius, really. He is intoxicated with a sense of divinity in lofty heights of arrogance. While desiring for friendship, Zanza held people in arm's distance, never really showing his humanity, weaknesses, or soft belly, as they say, continuously holding on to that pride. But at that point, how will you even make friends? What about the architect, the regretful side of Klaus, doing his best to make amends, punishing himself for what feels like an eternity, for pressing that button as a scientist? Maybe not even knowing how to repent until meeting with this young salvager and his party. Even after seeing the darkness within, you know, that little game he played to push them to the brink. I mean, it felt like everyone at that moment was unfiltered, saying what they actually felt inside, the sides of themselves that they unconsciously repressed. Like how Pyra was overly aggressive and Mithra was complacent and eager to please. I think Architect knows that everyone masks their hearts with lies. In fact, to access that shadow, as Xenogears fans are familiar with, you sometimes have to go deeper. And that means vulnerability. He wanted to see what Rex would do in complete powerlessness.
Did I go wrong somewhere?
When his self-image was threatened by the ones he loved. This is not unlike how Zed observes the shadow of humanity, that darkness they usually repress, the aggression, selfishly clinging to life, just to survive, to appease the feeling of powerlessness. In Aionios. See, both Moebius and the Architect wanted to observe the same void of darkness, but for completely different reasons.
This hope of yours. How can there be anything like it? In this world, there is nothing but the void. Peer now into it and watch your precious hope crumble to nothing! I'm trying to tell you! That's just the sadness speaking through you! I will take her back. My Mio will be mine, and all who stand in my way, I shall destroy! If it wasn't for you, my Mio would still be with me. I cannot lose to you. I cannot! I won't let you undo it. Nor us, nor Moebius. There is no room for hope in this world. Only despair.
While Moebius wanted to exploit that urge, the Architect wanted to see their resolve and resilience instead. As Zed says, if the results satisfy, it is well and good, but if they do not satisfy, what then? Will you weep, battered by grief, or howl, seething with rage? If you look at it from a high enough vantage point, it really all serves one purpose: to protect humanity.
Zed and the other Moebius, they wanted to protect the world too.
Can the darkness ever give birth to light? Zed is humanity's collective unconscious, after all. Origin's reboot was hijacked, fearing total oblivion, the aversion to non-existence. The Moebius is trying to protect humanity in their own twisted ways, while Aionios represents destruction on the micro scale, trading lives and accumulating flames. It represents protection on the macro one. As such, the world supposedly persists for eternity. We all have a bit of Moebius within. Zed is this unholy union of the two sides of Klaus. Zanza's arrogance meets the Architect's regret. Beneath the tough act, I want you to see that fearful, child.
The self is all that exists. As such, the only cure for despair is total oblivion. That is the face of the world. I hate it, hate it, hate it, hate it, hate it, hate it. This rotten world, I loathe it.
Perpetual destruction and recreation under the banner of protecting humanity. No wonder Alpha was so disappointed.
Already! This world of peace where nobody has to die! Make it come true! I'm barely holding on! You hear me?
As soon as people are denied something they desire, something they want, they try to take it by force. Some give up prematurely, but the feeling is there for all of us. We all live for ourselves, to harbor desires and struggle to realize them, often at the expense of others. That is the natural state of man.
Let us away, towards a new world, out with the old, and in once more with the new.
And Alpha wanted to erase that face of the world ever since Future connected. Looking at the fog rift that he embodied in Aionios Moment's art book. Clearly stating the connection, the rift, that which strengthens the natural phenomenon that is the black fog. As these worlds came closer and closer, the black fog concentration increased as a response to the imminent antimatter explosions. The annihilation events you see across Aionios are miniature portents of this.
Behold, the widening rift in the sky. It's proof definite the world abhors you.
See, their original worlds used to be one and the same. Boasted almost unthinkable prosperity, home to so many people, until that day. Now, split in two, they yearned for each other, accelerated its collision course ever since the Conduit's disappearance. The two worlds, torn asunder, long to be as they once were, composed of opposing types of matter. Recombined, they would dissolve into light and cease to be. For every particle, there is an equal and opposite amount of antiparticle in the world. Unlike a uranium fission bomb, which allows us to release the bottled energy of the supernovas that forced the uranium to begin with, you have to put all the energy inside an antimatter bomb yourself by agitating empty space into pairs of matter and antimatter excitations. Which is precisely what the Conduit has been designed to do. The vector industries were hard at work. And to that end, photons incidentally have zero charge. It's only fair that Origin was built around the worlds of light. since by design it enables the recreation of the worlds without annihilation events. Both the matter and the antimatter are now a single, non-dual substance, using that light, that energy, as its reverse engineering method. The problem is solved. Right? Well...
I have always known just how gutless you creatures are. What will you show me next? Come now, entertain me. The struggle is all that you are permitted. Accept it.
If it wasn't for you, my Mio would still be with me!
I wanted to know the meaning behind the smile. There shouldn't be any life in those bodies. But the motes still rose.
Could you slay the ones who advance relentlessly toward despair?
I didn't want to lose anymore.
What do you mean, anymore?
There is no room for hope in this world.
Everything we held dear is gone! You took them all away! And you dare talk about your feelings of loss!
I think Alpha is fundamentally misunderstood, since we need to look at the renowned German philosopher Hegel, who explains the exact nature of the Trinity Processors. A refers to Ontos as the fulcrum that needs Pneuma and Logos' opinions, and that word opinions is intentional, since Hegel asserts the nature of these opinions to be dialectic by design. Pneuma puts forth the thesis, protection or selflessness, and Logos answers back with its antithesis, destruction or selfishness. They battle it out and sort out their differences. The Hegel dialectic is an interpretive method in which the contradiction between a proposition, a thesis, and its antithesis is resolved at a higher level of truth, what is referred to as a synthesis. In the entire trilogy, really, this intrinsic conflict between Pneuma and Logos drives the fabric of Takahashi-san's stories. Every battle needs a winner and a loser, after all. This is referred to as arriving at a conclusion that is expressed as synthesis by Ontos, a higher vantage point, if you will, that is free from the biases and blind spots of Pneuma and Logos. Without both of them interacting relationally to each other, there is no way for synthesis to arise for Ontos. It needs that struggle, that tension, and a continual feeding of information for ever stronger insights to arise, since both Pneuma and Logos have different worldviews and perspectives. Through that contrast, the understanding arises by taking a jab at each other, seeing the weaknesses in your form, something you've missed or haven't considered before about the world, about yourself, a side of human nature you missed or ignored. Now a new understanding and insight arises that is different from Pneuma and Logos. Ontos uses this synthesis as a way of maintaining Logos and Pneuma without them existing in the way they did before. It rejects both of them as discrete entities so that he can synthesize them into a singularity. That is the role of Ontos. Now the conflict is resolved and the insight is integrated into the psyche. And I think the best way to illustrate this is the science and religion debate. On the one hand, the mechanistic Newtonian physics believes that there is no free will of any kind, how humans are all robots and everything is predestined. All events have prior causes and can't be influenced by a will. And religions of the world say that we have things like art, meaning, values, consciousness, we have emotions, something more than the mechanistic interactions of the world can easily explain. We have free will and a deeper connection to God that is beyond what the eye can see. Now, the synthesis of this tension in Hegel's worldview would most likely be resolved as spirituality, a form of integration that includes both science and religion, but is different from each of them in experience and core arguments. Think of the experience of enlightenment in Buddhism, regarded as no self. With meditation, you're conscious of the mind. You realize how the causal processes affect perception and thinking, as science talks about. But you also realize your intentions and will form the magical component that religion is so emotionally moved by. And Hegel refers to the Trinity as logic, nature, and spirit. Logic as logos represents rationality, the process of inquiry. You look at the world, you look at yourself, and then contradictions arise inevitably, and you're trying to understand the nature of them. In the process, you can feel confused, uncertain, conflicted, and maybe even easily swayed in this or that direction.
What are we, in the end? This hunger I feel, this thirst, is it really my own, or is it someone else's? Sometimes I can't tell. Tell me, Jin, are you really here? I don't know where I really am.
Nature, as Pneuma represents, is insight and understanding. The ideas and concepts that appeared in logic is now actualized in the material world. You're effectively using logic and externalize it to see the contradictions clearly. The solution is now within your grasp. While you're not self-aware yet, you use the understanding on the external world to inform your inner world, getting ever closer to that ideal.
That's funny. I'd never noticed that before.
Oh, do they not have armus where you're from?
Yeah, I meant getting old. Is that what that is?
It's called getting old, this.
That smaller armu over there. It starts little, but grows over time. Becomes like the bigger one. All the creatures do it. But we never change that much.
Ah.
It's such a basic fact. So why haven't we realized it before? Realization leads to hope, which in due time turns to despair. The significance of the stasis is driven ever deeper within.
The spirit, or the world spirit, is ontos, the self-consciousness and understanding. It is referred to as the Geist. It evolves through reason and insight, logos and pneuma. This is the underlying fundamental reality that generates the fabric of the world. Without ontos, it can't exist. Everything is Geist. The subject and the object are inseparable, one and the same. Even pneuma and logos are nothing but part and parcel of its being.
Alpha was, and I am, an avatar. The spirit of your world. Just like Alpha needed all of you. You and your world. You need me.
An avatar? What?
See, when Hegel looks at this world, he sees tension as an integral part of it. The expansion and contraction, breathing in and out while being the same thing still. It is no wonder Takahashi-san referred to Aionios to be an integral part of the origin, as this world and Moebius are one and the same, not different from one another. As Nia said, if you control origin, you control the fabric of this world. And that world is supervillain pawn, just as Manana said.
Ending people's lives like it doesn't matter. Oh, what a sick joke.
Their word for people like that? Know what Noppon say? Super villain pon. It be the extreme bad guy.
Oh, Noah and Mio and friends. Supervillain pon.
You're labeling us?
Labeling. Because friends used to end lives also. That not make them supervillain pon?
I mean, it's not like we ever had a choice or anything. It was them or us.
So when no choice, not fall under definition then.
None of us ever fought because we wanted to. It's just how it worked. How people worked. And the world.
So, world is supervillain pon.
Huh?
Since it make everyone do nasty things. World is bad guy.
The world is bad. Huh, I never thought of it like that.
As the Trinity and the non-dual nature of the world is destabilized after Klaus's death, Alpha loses not just Hegel's dialectic logic, but also its moral compass, his conscience, leaving nothing but a machine with a god complex. There is a term rapture in Christianity referring to the belief that at the end, the God will arrive to snatch away all the believers from the world in order to make way for his righteous judgment. But what if the God was dead? As Nietzsche says, what if the God was nothing but a scam?
Lies! This is all lies! Don't think your ludicrous stories are going to change my mind. Alpha, he made me an inviolable promise. He said this is what awaits us at the end of our road. He said we could make a world like this.
Oh, come off it. Really? You think that?
Of course I do. Everything that we were denied is right here for us.
It's obviously a scam! Wherever you go, it's the same! You leave them, it only ends one way.
Oh, so we should just let them keep killing each other. Killing to live? What a load of crap! Good riddance to anything those butchers want to save.
Pulling their knowledge, they gave birth to a single point of hope, origin, an arc containing all the world's data, recorded in words of light. But Origin's main architecture, made up of Ontos' core, can't be trusted so readily to follow through on humanity's intentions. As without Klaus, Ontos lay dormant in its core, no longer shackled by his brother and sister's opinions. The connection to Logos and Pneuma was severed. Without his conscience Klaus and power-link Conduit to guide him, who was Ontos, Alpha started to wreak havoc in Shulk's world.
The rift is expanding. Mother, something not right. Foggy Floppies all coming together.
meaning of this?
It must be drawing its strength from the rift. And now it's even bigger.
In other words, if we could close the rift, we might have a chance.
It's possible.
As Takahashi-san said, the same phenomenon has occurred in Alrest 2, but we haven't seen a sequel DLC, unfortunately. Alpha's conclusion was erasure of these worlds, evident by how he repurposed the Black Fog to do its bidding. While the universe might have welcomed them as a part of its evolutionary design, Alpha wasn't sure if humanity deserved such kindness. In a world without a god, as Shulk aptly put it, he saw no value in existence. In his machine-like calculations, the disdain for these Olden notions started to leak through.
Alvis, what are you? I am the administrative computer of a phase transition experiment facility, but that will mean little to you. To you, I am a machine. That is my original form.
Alvis?
This world is stagnant. It has expired. Therefore, I will ask you, its new god. What is your wish? Will you allow the world to continue to stagnate? Or will you allow it to evolve to the next level? The choice is yours to make.
I don't know. All I wanted to do was stop Zanza having his way, that's all. I cannot be a god.
And it's got those monsters, shrouded in black fog.
Those are fog beasts. Signs of the strained world the Black Fog birthed, and now servants of Alpha. But originally, something that had no place existing.
A was Alpha's conscience. Her shackles were broken when Ghondor unlocked them using Pneuma's worldview. Not unlike how M's repentance paved the way for Noe and Mia. Reaffirming how Alvis as we know him in Bionis shouldered the architect's regrets. He was the connection all along, working together in these opposing worlds.
And thus was predicated on the existence, or perhaps the opinions, of the others, Logos and Pneuma.
In short, without the two of them present, Ontos was just a machine.
My original, he was shaped by Klaus, and shouldered the man's regret as he was born into that world. Hence, he was able to help you. But he is no longer. The me that is left is just a machine, and machines know no sympathy. That's why he took steps to erase this world.
A carried Klaus's conscience and made sure the data inside the core was safe, but ultimately no one knew what Alpha would do at the collision of the planets. Could we really trust a rogue artificial intelligence who had no love for humans? Why would he even reboot the worlds at the moment of collision? Would that future really be worth creating? No one knows the answer, you see. Both Melia and Nia were discussing this before the collision, face to face. The true meaning of their deeds will bear fruit only in time. And this whole uncertainty of it is what precipitated the creation of Zed in the first place. fearing non-existence, unable to trust the processing unit at the heart of it all. No wonder Zed referred to Alpha as his god, since he held dominion over their lives. And it is important to remember. Melia referred Origin as Alvis's gift, while Rex referred to it as Klaus's gift. In other words, the architect sent his last gift to Ontos' core at the beach.
Cheers to old Klaus! His gifts just keep on giving!
This is the last gift. The rest is up to you.
The one that Shulk picked up, thinking it was just Alvis's doing. Origin's architecture, along with Logos and Pneuma, were sent to Ontos' core, leading to the creation of Origin in both worlds. The Pseudo Trinity Processors, as observed by Z, Y, and X, were in full effect in Aionios, while the genuine processors, Pneuma and Logos cores, were suppressed by Alpha, unfortunately. Just as Rex said, Klaus entrusted the future to us. He followed his conscience, and Origin was still getting its power from the Trinity, evident by how only 3 people went into Origin to sustain Aionios. A replaced Ontos, Rex replaced Pneuma, and Shulk replaced Logos. The blueprint for humanity's salvation was as follows. Instead of escaping the self-destruction, trying to delay the inevitable, what if we've embraced it? Not really trusting Alpha to follow through on their intentions, the Moebius Z appeared. The collective unconscious, the fear of humanity, fully knowing how Alpha had no love for them. The reboot of Origin would fail under his jurisdiction, so Zed hijacked it, stopped time, and created Aionios, freezing time in Xenosaga's pocket dimension using space-time transition event. As the partial collision of the planets produced some level of energy, a creation of a Planck-sized black hole was inevitable. Time doesn't ensue in the event horizon of a black hole. It was the perfect opportunity for Origin to generate Aionios. It was genius. But since both of those worlds were highly destructive, the antimatter explosions can't be stopped. The event horizon, however, would still slow down time just enough for these opposing matters to coexist in relative peace. In the early history of the world, Alpha stayed dormant for a while. After all, the black fog was naturally accumulating, and it was only a matter of time before the Moebius annihilated itself, just as humanity always does. To understand a machine, I think we need to stop thinking so temporally. The experience of time is relative after all. For a machine, whether you get a slow death or a quick one is just a formality. Just as Takahashi-san said in his interview, he started to observe the operations of this world. Maybe Alpha wanted to give the Olden mortals one last chance, As A was nagging him, she was a thorn in his side, spurring these Olden mortals to action. And as a result, his destructive tendencies were somewhat appeased for a while. The humans were going to end themselves anyways. But after a while he decided that Moebius' actions were unacceptable. See, it is important to remember that Takahashi-san doesn't believe in hard determinism, fatalism, the idea that the future is predetermined, it's predestined, and we have no control over our destinies. Xenoblade games are the antithesis of this idea, as not even Ontos has the power to predict the future with absolute certainty. It is true, you can see visions like Shulk, you can see it clear as day, but they're just that, potentials. One of the possibilities, not certainties. What the flow encompasses.
Our intentions will live on, and one day coalesce again. Be it tomorrow, or in 1,000 years. Surely, the time will eventually come. I can see it, clear as day.
You actually did see it coming, didn't you? All that's happened.
Right. And all that will.
The only thing I see is what the flow encompasses. But your hope lives on. That much is certain.
At the end of the day, future is unknown, it is uncertain, and Alpha's judgments regarding the flow were even more skewed now that the Conduit wasn't here to power the processors.
The one leaving things behind is you!
And as a result, he missed it. Something spontaneous, unpredictable. Its very existence shook Alpha to his core. His worldview changed in an instant. As Alpha was looking at this world, edge to bleeding edge filled with sorrow and suffering, this might just be the very representation of pure innocence.
I've seen that look before, the stare of your fearful looking eyes, that quiet voice inside. What do you hear? Will you give up and stay where you belong? Afraid your time, it just might take too long. And you won't know unless
people who are of the city are the future of this world. And in Alpha's eyes, they are a crucial source of power.
What happens when we fall in love? As a result of certain stimuli, the hypothalamus releases a powerful discharge of endorphins. But why exactly that woman, or that man? Is there a release of odorless pheromones that correspond to a complementary genetic signal, or is it the physical features we recognize? A mother's eyes, a smell that stimulates a happy memory. Is love part of the plan? Bacteria and viruses are asexual organisms with each cell division, each multiplication. They mutate and perfect themselves much more quickly than we do. Against this, we respond with the most fearsome weapon. Two individuals, by mixing their genes, shuffle the cards and create an individual who resists viruses better the more dissimilar he or she is. The plus and minus, the Agnian and Kavasi people, mixing their genes, giving rise to a person of hope. The future of these worlds, the city people. In Alpha's eyes, they needed to be protected. They were life forms who would not repeat the mistakes of the past. Innocent of humanity's crimes. Never recorded in origin, never tainted by the selfishness of Olden mortals. In a sense, they were representing the conscience that Moebius and the soldiers alike, Alrest and Bionis lacked. And if you think about it, Aionios was the culmination of the best humanity could do. And it was a joke, Alpha thought. Love is something we constantly pay lip service to. The Ouroboros stands for it after all. Pneuma wants everyone to live in a world where they have the will to choose, that they have options, that everyone is taken care of and valued, respected, and loved. We should love our families despite their shortcomings. We should say how much we love our girlfriend 5 times a day. We should make friends, as N said to Ghondor, keep them close. Always. But this colloquial definition of love may not be good enough in the grand scheme of things. After all, it is easier to love your friends, your family, compared to complete strangers walking on the street, let alone assholes, compared to people we don't relate to as much, people who have different worldviews, personalities, and goals. At the end of the day, we all lead busy lives. If we were to care about every stranger or any and everyone, we wouldn't have energy left to ourselves and people who are actually close to us. In fact, if you look at life, you see that it is not fair. at least not intrinsically. Which country you were born to, your family, the economical climate of your times. These are all outside of your control. A lot of things are actually. There is a system that runs in the background, like a machine, and you're just one of the cogs in it. Not particularly special, at least not in the eyes of the powerful. The we you speak of are only those you wish to protect, your friends who help line your pockets. Make no mistake, however much you want to deny it, the world doesn't just vanish because you close your eyes. These people in positions of power exist and influence your life as we speak. Whether that is through advertisements, education, work, or entertainment, you are led to believe in certain things. How you should live your life, what you should value, and the things you should be striving as goals. It is also because it is desirable by the system, which may or may not be desirable for you as an individual. As observed in the renowned painter Pablo Picasso's life, there are two periods in which we can observe the full spectrum of the Logos ideology, starting with the blue and ending in red. The period of blue represents depression, the despair in complete powerlessness, whether that is accomplishing a goal or spending time with your loved ones. The reality of impermanence and dissatisfactoriness, as Buddhism likes to say, hits like a truck. As happiness is as fleeting as the wind, and when you look at the world, you are more likely to see pain and the void of despair sucking you in more and more as you struggle. Whatever rules are exercised by the administrators, you're trying to carve a path the best you can. Crawl under the mud until someday you can't. You give in to despair. Questioning everything you've ever known in complete meaninglessness. Why should you even make the effort when the deck is intentionally stacked against you? The period of red comes after blue, with the delusion of amusement under a veneer of power. At least, relatively, you feel stronger, you appear to transcend over mere mortals, no longer concerned with petty desires or pain. You direct your attention on things like gluttony and pleasure. Now you have the financial means to accomplish your goals more easily, but more often than not you choose not to. As being active in the world and striving for goals are beneath you, too much work, not worth the hassle. the comfort and the sense of security that you spent a lot of time solidifying would be compromised. Everything worth doing in life comes with an upfront investment, whether that is mental effort, energy, or time. You need to be prepared to get your hands dirty at least for a little while to make progress, to get some traction going. And people who are at the period of red in Logos rejects this lifestyle and worldview and prefers to have a selfish life of their own making. In some ways, the red is even more trapped than blue ever was. They lost all hope for betterment, all hope for this world. The red is the rock bottom of the Logos ideology, the last men, as Nietzsche says. And as it stands, Alpha couldn't just save the city life while being shackled in Origin. His battle with Shulk, Rex, and Zed made one thing clear. He needed to strengthen his will. Even as the administrator, Alpha could bend the reality to his will only so much. His power wasn't absolute, evident by how he can't just flip a switch and erase Moebius from the world. He still needed to play the game, abiding its rules. He needed a physical vessel, an avatar, to amplify his power.
Makes no sense.
Nael.
Haven't we done enough? We could have just kept to ourselves, but we're still doing this. And now Kyra's dead. Go away. With or without Moebius, nothing will change. In the end, people always kill people.
Those soldiers were still part of the cycle. I bet they were controlled.
Doubt it. No red irises. Savages. They killed Kyra just to add on a measly few extra days.
Come on. That's worst case.
Matthew. Always in fantasy land.
What?
You can't keep every bloody person happy. How can you not understand it's impossible?
The only true end is the moment you give up. Isn't that what Grandad taught us?
Then show me already! This world of peace where nobody has to die. Make it come true. You think you could do that, do you? You think you've got what it takes? Well, I don't. I'm barely holding on. You hear me?
See, I think it's important to be conscious of how we all crave attention as social animals. A text from our friends, notifications on WhatsApp, comments under YouTube videos. Even if it's virtual, the interaction assures us that we're not alone and affirms our existence as a self. We exist and we're loved. Right? We cling to the idea that maybe our date, our girlfriend maybe, is into us just as much as we're into them. We are attached, we love them, we want them to be happy, we want them to live. But what if that person you love so much leaves you tomorrow? How would you react? What would you do? I'm not talking about anything serious, just gone, doesn't want to talk to you anymore, or doesn't care enough to maintain the relationship. And imagine that person being someone you were imagining a future with, maybe even kids. someone you thought you knew for these past 10 years, only to see your hope shatter to dust. Can you love your fate still? That, as Nietzsche argues, is Amor Fati, something N wasn't able to do as Moebius. He was so attached to M that, at the risk of severing his conscience forever, he needed to cling to that love just to justify his existence. After all, life was meaningless without her. Takahashi's-san is basically asking a hard question to answer. Can you let go of her to start the cycle all over again? All memories erased, meeting new people in a new cycle and to care for them each just as much. Can you do it? While knowing you've lost M, maybe the only person you loved, now lending a hand to the worms like Yorins and Shanias of the world, people you don't actually care that much. If you're honest with yourself, regardless, will you share? Give them some of yours. Will you help them? Will you call that charity or compassion? Will you show it, imagining them who are granted it to be thus satisfied, imagining not a piece of wretchedness to remain? We all live with this pressure, making the best possible choices under duress, living the best life. While there are no losers in the world Moebius offers, there are also no winners. We tend to think that we have to wait for the end of the world to enjoy our lives to the fullest, day by day. We watch all of these movies and read all of these stories about characters faced with impossible odds who, in spite of everything, they choose to keep going, to live more richly than before. But most of us are never forced to make that choice, so we don't. We wait and let the days slip by like so much sand in an hourglass. We have countless works of art screaming at us, begging us to change the way we live, to reignite the blood in our veins, but we don't ever seem to listen. Alpha embodies everything wrong with us humans. Every flaw in Pneuma and Logos, every flaw. He wants to protect, but only the city people, not everyone. He wants to destroy, but only the Olden mortals, not necessarily Moebius Tyranny. Alpha's machine-like calculations, while intending for the greater good, fails to take into account how fatalism is a scam. You can't look at the past or the present to predict the future, as reality isn't deterministic. And to make matters worse, the physicality is only a gimmick in this world. Not unlike the Ouroboros stones that Nia invented, they ignite a potential, surely, but the key lies in you. The wielder decides, as Melia says. So the million-dollar question is, how would Alpha go about setting his plans into motion if true strength lies in your will, that which makes its essence mercurial? You fail to reach such a zenith, Alpha.
If raw emotion is what affords him strength, it must be disrupted with emotions stronger still. You fail to reach such a zenith, Alpha. I, N, shall thwart you once more. My blade will cut your very will!
Sword of the end. You're gonna use it.
Sure about that? I am Nael, you know.
I am divorced of all that. All doubts. Misgivings gone!
While both Nael and Alpha hated this world, there was someone else who was cheated by life just the same. Someone who had gone through endless pain with the hope of salvation at the end, looking for a light that never came to be. An endless dark tunnel that sucks you into the void the more you struggle. Now, it is true, Nael suffered the pain of seeing someone she loved die, but it paled in comparison to seeing that happen over multiple lifetimes, unending, and being so powerless in the face of it.
My feelings have never changed. They're the same as they've always been. They're for you, Mio. The time I had with you meant everything to me. But now, it's all gone. If she truly is gone, I'll have to redo it all. Watch me rewind our clocks back to the start. Noah, my long shadow, you have stolen her away from me. I will extinguish you and take her back. Mio is mine. She's not yours. She's mine. You are nothing. She belongs only to me.
Being allured by freedom as Ouroboros, only to see that freedom, that hope, that desire for salvation to crumble to dust. Crumble to nothing.
You who wield the sword of the end. The endless now is under threat of being cut short. Could you do it, I wonder? Could you slay the ones who advance relentlessly toward despair? You do, after all, desire eternity above all others.
As much as Aionios is shackled by Logos, the wills of countless people still reside inside Origin. Some want to go on, some want to stay. In this world, there are so many mingled desires, but does anyone have the right to choose? To make that decision for everyone else?
You in two.
He's found it. The trace of turmoil. That's still within him.
discard the past. Let it all go, Matthew.
I won't!
What harm did your kind do? You have done nothing wrong. You simply strode forth towards the future. But the Olden humans, they did not find value in it. You must have realized this is not where you belong.
Stop!
Why make a martyr of yourself? Why be a stepping stone? For as long as the old is not excised, mankind has no future.
The old? You say?
It's in your hands, Matthew.
So you killed them all? Killed Grandad?
It was Ghondor's choice. I simply cut him down, as he desired.
Stop taking the piss! Grandad wouldn't. He'd never side with the likes of you. The future's in my hands. That can't be what he meant.
So you choose to stay in the now, to abandon the future.
The one leaving things behind is you!
Leave her! Nael is... she's your family. I can't let you do this. What about Mum? Did she want this too?
You don't need to know. The burden is mine alone to bear.
Mum would tell you to let it go, I'm sure. I know it. But you can't choose this path.
Ghondor.
Nael! Grandad!
This is the path I have chosen. Matthew.
Grandad!
Take care of Nael, the future.
Grandad!
It's in your hands, Matthew.
I'm not denying that this decision might have a bit of selfishness. After all, how do you know that this new world of origin will be kind to the birds and worms alike, the Yorins and Shanias of the world? We have all seen how much they have suffered. On top of that, the city people may or may not be reborn. I want you to think about the burden of being the one who ultimately pulled the trigger. Your name will either be cursed as a scapegoat or honored as the hero for generations to come. See, what I'm trying to say is making a decision for the greater good is always murky business. You think that the worldview, the world that you aspire to, is better than what we already have, untainted by the selfishness and greed. The end, after all, doesn't justify the means, and you need to make sure that your intentions are pure.
In the current of the eternal flow, you need not justify the means. All is swallowed up. Everything.
Your actions have made the future uncertain. Have you no regrets? Given a choice of this magnitude, surely there is doubt.
Oh, believe me, got 'em in spades. That's why we move forward. Always ahead.
While convoluted at points, the game never wants to trick you. It is so obvious with its themes and messaging that it desperately wants you to get it. To look at the lives we all live and ask ourselves, what are we doing? Although any story can construct a narrative that supports whatever ideological claim it wants, but when the same insight is contrasted in two different games, in both Alrest and Aionios, I think it just hits different. Your intentions in life are key because Jin and Noah exist. Two people who are almost walking the same path in life, as both of them have similar lives, desires, and internal conflicts within their own worlds. In Alrest, it is easy to be fooled by the convenient lie that is immortality, as you essentially have a limited lifespan as a blade. Your memories, personality, your loved ones, all the lessons, the knowledge you've accumulated, they're all gone as you return to your core crystal. Immortality is both a blessing and a curse. Not unlike how an embryo is reborn in the cradles, blades are virtually no different from soldiers in Aionios. They're all fighting to live, living to fight, eternally. The soldiers and the blades are immortal in the macro sense, while being just as fragile, if not more, just as mortal in the micro sense. While a soldier has a fixed 10-year lifespan in Aionios with a catch-22 that is the homecoming ceremony, for blades there is no freedom and their individual lifespan is tied to their driver's lifetime instead. Unless you become a flesh eater. Regardless, you will be recycled. Just the same. And to that end, when Noah wanted to break free of these constraints and destroy Aionios, he wielded Pneuma's blade, Fiora, to do that, while Jin essentially befriended Malos as his blade, who was the Endbringer in Alrest. His blade ironically was Logos. Now, if you're perceptive, I think Takahashi-san is already spelling out the Pneuma and Logos contrast, but everything else about them is almost exactly the same. So, what is the angle here? Why does Takahashi-san portray these two characters on diametrically opposite spectrums? After all, both Noah and Jin felt betrayed by the system of their worlds and decided to destroy, feeling absolutely powerless in the face of the immovable object.
Man's life too has an end, yes. However, though each individual life is fleeting, you pass on your memories, allowing you to grow as a species, as a culture. Why does Endal control all the core crystals? By controlling the moment of every blade's birth, they enslave our entire kind. How is that fair? We have no culture because Endal decrees it. Because that's what your kind do.
Lack of choice is enough to break a person. They struggle, suffer, clawing their way through endless fog. A world without choice. That's wrong. If death is a lie in this world, it deserves to end. So you'd rather perish along with the world? I just want to cut this world free from Moebius.
Jin didn't want to be a slave for humans, and Noah to Moebius. Both of them needed the will to choose. having a prosperous culture, to grow as individuals and collectively as a society, to exercise their free will.
Leo, if death is a lie in this world, it deserves to end.
And the only difference between Jin and Noah is simply their intentions. As Jin's desire to end this world is oblivion, feeling so defeated against the architect's rules, it is better that it never existed in the first place.
So you'd rather perish along with the world?
That baby shouldn't have been born into this world in the first place. Alrest is hell.
I just want to cut this world free from Moebius.
Which explains why Amalthus ended him off himself. It was mercy. While Noah's reason to end this world is for betterment, as we can do better than Aionios, surely. While Origin reboots, suddenly my blood flows stronger, breathing comes easier, and my will regains control of my muscles.
A world without choice. That's wrong.
We are doing all this, going through this struggle, so that this little guy here can be happy, healthy, and free from the tyranny and the limitations that is Aionios. The Ouroboros is essentially fighting for him. At the end of the day, what is youth? Youth is a mindset. As long as you can find joy in life, facing the struggle head on, you will always be young. Unlike what Zed says, it is not an age thing. As adults, whether consciously or not, I think we all chase childlike wonder. We chase the rush of delighting in simple things, the spontaneity, the panache, the zest of life that Moebius lacks in their stagnation. The difference is Noah destroys to create a future for him, while Jin and Malus destroy Alrest to end it, believing that the little guy here is better off not being hurt and cheated by the world. Why you do what you do matters. If Takahashi-san criticizes anything in these games, it is the end justifies the means. It doesn't because your intentions matter. Context matters. While destroying, fear affirms existence, yet Malus denies it. Jin is fundamentally motivated by despair, wanting to end the world to end his personal pain. It is selfish escapism, a sentiment that Matthew would surely disapprove, just as she did.
Just go, Rex! You're gonna pay for this! So fucked up!
No. We have to go.
It's so strange. I don't even know what I'm doing here anymore.
Hobby is hurt to see Rex like this.
They all said that. But now you too. Did I go wrong somewhere?
We wanted to go to Elysium, but the reason why we wanted to go there was to beg our father to let us die. For the sake of the world, abandon us!
How's your angel
stand by like this and watch someone I love suffer?
I failed you. Is this all I am?
Useless husk. Go ahead and take it!
Pyra! Pyra! I'm so sorry. Pyra. Mithra. We made it this far, but...
Rex. Rex!
Nia.
Got it.
Dromark, take care of Pyra.
Understood.
What's this? I thought you'd start bawling and charge at me. What a big boy.
Stupid.
Huh?
I was stupid. I didn't understand Pyra and Mithra's feelings. Though we were destined to follow different paths, I tried to walk together. I walked in the shadow of the Aegis's light, blindly walking my own path, while she walked alone.
What are you blathering about?
So, I might be stupid, but I've made a decision.
Oh, what have you decided? You've come all this way. I'll hear you out.
It's obvious. I'll crush you into oblivion and take Pyra and Mithra to Elysium.
Crush us? Me and Jin? You couldn't take Jin on your own. And on top of that, I've regained control of all my Aegis powers. Not to mention the artifices. You're doomed, boy.
I'm not.
That thing is just a used-up shell. You can't rely on it to save you, boy.
I now understand what Pyra and Mithra wanted. And I understand what I have to do to make it happen. What it means to be driver and blade.
Have you forgotten the Aegis's power? That power. Is it not the Aegis's power to erase worthless things from existence? Is that not the Architect's very will?
Pyra and Mithra aren't like that.
I just realized. I know why Malos is so intent on scouring the world. It's you, Amalthus. Malos has become tainted by your influence.
So what if he has? What's the problem? You've had your little trip around Alrest. You've witnessed the state of Moritha. Mankind will never change, no matter how many millennia pass.
You're the one who won't change. That's exactly why you hate those who try to.
See, Klaus wasn't alone back there. Someone else objected to this idea of in with the new and out with the old, leaving people behind, forsaking them for a better world. Just as Matthew said to Nael, a world made up by the corpses of its people is destined to repeat the same selfishness. Galea stood in opposition to that. She was Klaus's partner, someone we know as Mayneth and Bionis, fighting against Zanza's tyranny. See, just as Galea tried to stop Klaus, so did Matthew, Alpha. Even if Klaus somehow ascended to perfect sainthood and divinity, how can you be so sure that you can relay those qualities to humans? How can you ensure the world would stay pure and radiant?
Everything in this world is dictated by the passage of fate. As all that exists is interconnected, time can flow only towards the inevitable. That is the vision of which I, the Monado, am the origin. That which will be, will be. This was all predestined. Ever since I came to reside within Shulk.
What do you mean?
Zanza grew tired from our battle. And then the High-Entier ancestors trapped him. His flesh was sealed away on Prison Island. His soul, and hence the Monado, was confined to Osse Tower.
In those ruins? But what does this have to do with Shulk?
Did you forget? Who discovered those ruins? Who happened to be there? Who was the survivor we found? And who brought back that survivor?
What are you saying? You planned all this when you found Shulk?
Jackpot. It was all for this day. In fact, there was never anyone called Shulk to begin with.
What?
My soul existed inside the Monado. It was fated that I be released. It was shown to me in a vision. At last the time finally came, and then...
The people who found the Monado and freed it awoke Zanza. He sucked the lives from them, so he could live. Shulk was among them.
Shulk was already dead! That's impossible! We grew up together!
You grew up with an empty shell. He appeared to live because I became his life force. That is until he had matured as my new vessel and become worthy of wielding the Monado, allowing me to truly awaken and finally return.
Lord Zanza is the soul of the Bionis, but he still needs a living body. Just like Mayneth over there. Call that corpse a friend? Don't make me laugh.
But why use Shulk? What was it that made you select Shulk as your vessel?
There was no particular reason. Shulk merely happened to be there at the time.
There you have it. Anybody would have done. As long as they could swing a sword around, at least.
So then, Shulk's ability to use the Monado...
And those visions that he used to save us.
All because of Lord Zanza. Lord Zanza can see the passage of fate. He simply led you to the inevitable. The destruction of Colony 9. The death of that pompous old High-Entier fool. And that grunt Gaddo's miserable demise. All of it.
You evil...
Yeah! There's more. We haven't even got to the best part.
What are you gonna do, Dixon?
Don't you get it? You're just in the way. The lot of you. This world was created by Lord Zanza. By the very Bionis itself. Then you things think you can just spring up all over the place.
All life that is born from me must be returned to me eventually to complete the cycle. For me to continue my existence as before, then all must be restored to its former order.
In other words, the destruction and recreation of the world.
Even if the passage of fate is as you have decided, I will teach you the strength of their will to resist. Zanza, if you choose to deny the existence of every living being but yourself, then I choose to fight. To fight for them! That's
right. We won't let you erase everyone's futures.
The case against Alpha's worldview is as follows. Can a rose exist without its thorns?
It's unbearable. Seeing life slip away from you. Even though they're right there. What am I even doing?
I'll kill you! I hate him, Dumban! For what he did to Fiora and the Emperor! So of course I want to get my revenge! But have you forgotten everything he's done? Face Mechon are not like the others. They're people. Like us. Where is your killer instinct? Now is the time! Get out of my way! Are you really willing to kill another Hont? Yes. Sometimes needs must. Even if it's Fiora. What then? When we set out, I wanted to destroy all Mechon, but now I know that there are people inside. I have to know why. What's the reason for all of this? Why do Bionis and Mechonis have to keep on fighting? I have to find out why. So that is your fight. Are you feeling hungry, eh? Chew on this, scrap for brain. Kill a Hont to beat us. Hegel, I once wished only to break the circle of suffering.
Until I'm every one of you!
Why didn't you do it? Killing me would have saved your world.
I've forgotten all about that.
Forgotten about it?
I realized that we both share the same pain. Hegel, I don't have any reason to kill you.
Even if you do not, I still do.
I know. But I won't do it.
If you do not kill me now, my blade will annihilate every last one of your people.
I can't kill you, but I can stop your blade over and over again until we understand each other.
The Monado is Zanza. Zanza is the Monado. The two are one and the same. In order to perpetuate the existence of his soul, Zanza inhabits beings of Bionis. Perhaps you can break the curse of Zanza. And was that not precisely our wish, Lady Mayneth?
We can live in peace again.
Zanza showed how tyranny doesn't work. You cannot control people by force. They will grow to resent you for it, for making them feel so weak and powerless. while the architect showed how passivity doesn't work either. While leaving them to do their own thing, respecting their free wills is good, just like what Rex represented in the game. You need to fight for what you believe in. You need to be active in the world. And maybe that's what Klaus was hoping for before pushing that button, to become that middle ground himself. Maybe that's what Alpha was hoping for, leading the city people to a new world. Asking Matthew if the decision weighs in on his conscience. They were two people, Klaus and Alpha, trying to fix this world, trying to fix others before fixing themselves. Maybe the relentless desire after the greater good, the desire to eradicate all evil, selfishness, and greed from the world, needs to be questioned. Maybe our desire for a better world is an impediment to it. Maybe, just as Chris said, at some point, after doing our best to change this world, we should all learn how to be content with our lot. Now, this is the final piece of the puzzle.
So relentless desire is what drives you. Desire? You fight for betterment, for ever greater aspirations. And what's wrong with that? Nothing at all. It's human nature, after all. But you still don't understand. There's something you must learn. What's that? To be content with one's lot. What do you mean? Don't you see? Only the strong can ever hope to reach the fabled horizon that you seek. Your words must be backed up by strength in equal measure. Winner's logic.
But birds, what can they possibly know of how a lowly worm feels?
Then, what would you have become of the weak? Would you abandon them? You would refute their everything? End their story there? Moebius are the ones doing that! Noah, what you're trying to achieve here amounts to the same thing. You really think freeing Origin will revive the world and solve all of our problems?
Believe it or not, Chris holds the key to unlocking the strongest insight in the trilogy. The themes of change and moving on all pale in comparison to this nugget of gold. As all of us have a tendency to act like chickens with their heads cut off in life, doing this or that. Even while moving forward, the ground beneath our feet can slow us down. Desiring after goals, relentlessly wanting to do better in life, to feel powerful in a world that is cruel at worst and indifferent at best. There is nothing more natural to wish for more influence and success in our lives. And to that end, Nietzsche advised the will to power, the relentless desire for betterment, the Ouroboros' worldview, the idea that we can push back against injustice and mediocrity to take control of our lives, turning the weakness into power, the core theme of Xenoblade 3. But unfortunately, life doesn't always work that way, and Takahashi-san knows it. That is why Chris is here, telling Noah how while going forward, there will be external events and people outside of your control that will impinge on your desires, conflict with them. None of us live in an isolated bubble. Your co-worker at work may not want for you to get a raise, or your girlfriend may cheat on you behind your back, while smiling to your face. Through no fault of your own, people can wrong you. You can't fix everything with willpower. Sometimes shit happens. Your will might have broken the shackles now, freeing yourself from the bondage of Moebius. But that doesn't mean the Ouroboros will always succeed, and this fact is illustrated by Takahashi's son himself. See, right before Mio's homecoming, the common variety Nopon was relaying the willpower trope. Don't give up, Noah. You still haven't drawn the lucky 7.
Noah, giving up? Now, of all time?
I don't want to give up. But we're trapped here. Our blades. I hope at least she can go in peace.
Of course Noah trapped. Noah still not tried to draw lucky 7.
Huh?
Remember? Back when Riku give wisdom? When need of true power, sword will appear.
Yeah. I remember.
Today is day of need. Even at edge, facing sheer drop, must never give up.
The writers, if you will, are making you believe how you can win still by the power of your will. Maybe one of the most sly red herrings I've seen in a JRPG, since absolutely nothing happens. The tears are rolling, we're all crying, bawling in agony, watching the only person Noah had ever loved die before our eyes. It really is unbearable seeing life slip away from you, even though they're right there.
What am I even doing?
Are you sad? If you could, would you try again? Or would you rather linger in the endless now?
The world. I wanted to change it.
For whose sake?
I did it for her.
But you ran away. You only cared about yourself.
No! I didn't!
But with time, you changed.
Heavy pulse, burning
Making a point that sometimes you can't draw the lucky 7 in life. Even if you could reach people, maybe you wouldn't be able to save them. The world doesn't always revolve around you and your desires. At least there are people behind the scenes pulling the strings. The willpower is an important internal quality that you can cultivate against adversity, but it never guarantees results or success in some absolute sense. And for these inevitable moments, Nietzsche had given us a different tool to deal with adversity. Not the will to power, but Amor Fati, the love of fate. Being content with one's lot, as Chris says. Regardless of how much you want your life to go one way, sometimes it just doesn't happen. And Chris wants Noah to realize how when the world doesn't bend to your will, instead of breaking your bones trying to push through.
Come on! Come on! Come on!
That's enough! You're just gonna break your hands.
I don't care! I'll shatter every bone in my body! If that's what it takes!
Just stop!
Be content with what you have already accomplished. There is no use in wallowing in self-pity, guilt, and a sense of disappointment following a failure. If you think about it, moving forward is not always walking. Sometimes crawling is walking when you've fallen down.
What am I even doing?
Counterintuitively, maybe you should stay down for a while to get comfortable with the ground. So while it's true that change is exactly what this stagnant world needs, I think Noah needs to realize how this is not the end. It is just the beginning.
You monster! Ah!
So weak. Amusingly so. Right now, all of you put together don't have the strength of a single soldier. Not even these flimsy iron bars yield to your efforts. Try all you like, but you cannot escape. No amount of toil will help you there. You feel the anguish, crippling despair. That is the hubris of fools who cling blindly to their hopes, only to find them dashed on the rocks. Of dreamers crushed under the sheer weight of reality. Of abject failures.
Was there even any point in all this? And everything we've done?
Of course there was.
Huh?
At least, we gave them hope. You know, I thought our lives were like our music. Always in our hands, under our control. I wasn't facing the truth. Even if I could reach people, I wouldn't be able to save them. I should have known that. It's unbearable. seeing life slip away from you. Even though they're right there. What am I even doing?
It's dark out, huh? No moon.
Huh?
In a bit more explicit terms, instead of demonizing the ugly and the suppressed, what Chris wished for Noah was to find value in even the stagnation.
Noah.
Huh?
So those things Chris said, what was that all about?
Finding value.
What now?
Chris, when he played his Offseer song, he conveyed his wish to me. His wish that I would come to find value in all things.
In my personal life, whenever I'm dealing with an adversity, I always struggled with accepting the helping hands offered to me, let alone extending my own to others. I suppose as a child I was many things, but not always the best team player out there. At least for the majority of my life, I had tendencies to isolate myself. I believed doing stuff on my own was the best way, but then I've started playing the walking simulator that is Death Stranding.
Heavy pulse, dirty eyes, sweaty clothes.
Up to this point, when I was using ladders and ropes, I would pick them back up, save them for me to use later. Anything I could hold on to and keep, I would. But the thing about the zip lines is that they're only really useful in collaboration. You obviously need 2 anchor points to go anywhere, and if you're just building them by yourself, by the time you place your second point, you are already there. While it can be useful for return trips, I was only doing the mandatory quests, so I would never come back here. But then why would I make the effort to build all these contraptions if it would do me no good? Why should I care how this zip line I've built helping another Sam's journey at the other side of the world a little easier? I mean, who cares? But when I came across this zip line out of nowhere, a random act of kindness from a stranger that saved me what could honestly have been an hour of struggling, it all hit me like an avalanche. The only way to move forward is together. How could I have been so stupid, so selfish? This whole world is connected, and I've been refusing its help. I am just like Sam. I think I'm better off alone, and I can do it all by myself, but I don't have to. I shouldn't, and there is nothing to gain by struggling alone in vain. We're so used to treating accepting help as weakness or personal failure, we've learned to see it as copping out of the real challenge, cheesing the game. But frustration is the only reward for trying to muscle through the struggle alone. We've been conditioned this, trying to do everything as a lone wolf so that we can claim ownership over our achievements. As a global society, we talk a big game about community and togetherness, but most of us are so alone, so disconnected. But alone, we have no future. So I started building things everywhere I went, started leaving things in shared lockers and leaving vehicles for others to hopefully find. I started rebuilding the highways, delighting and sharing this world with countless strangers I would never meet. I was finally connected. To that end, Matthew was connected to Galea, Maineth, and Pneuma's legacy, the Ouroboros, standing on the shoulders of giants, marching forward together, hand in hand. And as no one is irredeemable.